Fund Managers has launched South Africa's first specialist real estate investment trust. It's aimed at investing in on-site private electricity generation for commercial and industrial clients. The Real Estate Investment Trust will fund on-site solar power projects. For more on what prompted this move, I'm joined by the Managing Director of GAIA Fund Managers, Renier. Mr. de Wit, thanks so much for your time this evening. Now, GAIA are first movers, so what's the methodology behind this investment trust, given our very chaotic climate around energy generation at the moment?
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. That's exactly right. So, South Africa is in a hole. We've got stage 6, as you can see, and facing stage 8 probably in the winter. So this really is an opportunity for private sector to get involved and to make a difference in the area of our country where we can really make a difference, and that is electricity generation to businesses, factories, mines, and the like. GAIA has taken it upon ourselves to really play that bridge between investors and then the private sector, the businesses themselves, and to put a vehicle together that we can list to make that work. And hopefully others will follow as well in the future.
So this is
we really need to...
Sorry, I do apologize for jumping in there. Do carry on.
No problem. No, carry on, Anlie. Thank you.
So I was going to say, part of the need for an investment vehicle like this is because investment in energy generation technology and hardware is quite expensive. So many ordinary South Africans simply can't afford it. And many businesses also are struggling to meet those kind of energy generation targets or dreams that they would have of being independent of the grid. So who are the potential investors GAIA is targeting with this fund?
So on the investor side, we're targeting institutional investors. So those would be your pension funds, your life insurance companies, your collective investment schemes, and also family offices. Investors that have a long-term outlook and that are typically targeting stable, predictable income with an inflation linkage. So you're looking to outperform inflation over a long-term period. And then you're investing in impactful businesses. So by doing this, you would appreciate that we're making a positive impact on South Africa and its people and its businesses, and to leave the world a better place at the end of the day.
So that's on the one side, on the investment side. Talk to us a little bit about which businesses could potentially benefit from this fund and how the structure works.
So firstly, on our target clients, we are targeting businesses that have quite a lot of dependency on electricity, specifically on the grid. So those are your larger factories, your manufacturers, some of the larger farming businesses, fast-moving consumer goods, mines, and the like. So medium to larger enterprises, typically, that utilize in and around a megawatt or larger of electricity. Now, as you mentioned earlier, that's an expensive system to put in place. It can run into tens of millions of rands. And what our company is then doing is to raise capital to fund those energy systems. And essentially, we become the utility for those businesses. We then install solar and battery operated systems within the company's land, whether it's on the roof or on the land, and within that, it's embedded for the company. It doesn't depend on the grid being up, so if you have load shedding, you can still utilize your backup energy and the solar energy that you have, and in such a way the business can really reduce the risk. So what we're doing is we're listing a company on which is targeted to be listed in June on the Cape Town Stock Exchange, and that will then raise tranches of funding specifically for these projects.
How would you describe the risk-return profile?
For the investor?
Say again, yes. Well, for anyone who wants to get involved, we see a lot of people who are very new to this space, and the market is really opening up for not only companies but also individuals who want to invest in new technology.
Yeah, you're spot on. So this is, an infrastructure asset. So we have to understand that clearly. It means that there's an an asset underlying it, a real asset. It's, we're not investing in companies, we're investing in real assets that are performing. It's proven technology, and in such a way, the risk is significantly reduced. We're essentially selling electricity to businesses that obviously meet our credit quality standards, and we're putting together a basket of these essentially small electricity providing businesses so that our investors can generate a return from that. It's quasi debt like, so it's not pure debt, it's quasi debt, and in such a way the returns are more stable and predictable than what you would typically have under a pure equity investment or a private equity investment.
So GAIA has a proven track record in solar and energy projects, but in this instance you've partnered with Blue Energy Africa. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so GAIA's history dates back to, originally developing projects ourselves and then later investing for, private investors such as pension funds and institutions into the largest scale wind and solar farms that we have in South Africa. Those are the renewable energy independent power producer programs. With that program essentially stalling because South Africa has a transmission problem. I mean, we can't bring the electricity from where it is generated back into the cities because we've got a shortage of transmission grids. It's meant that we focus on another area of the economy and the country, which is specifically businesses themselves, and it has meant that we partner with Blue Energy Africa, which is a developer. They're seasoned engineers and entrepreneurs in the space of energy generation, and they have developed a pipeline with these businesses that specifically require energy and that meet our mandate.
You talked a little bit earlier about listing GAIA Renewables Real Estate Investment Trust. What would that listing vehicle be, and when are we looking to see that listed?
Yeah, so we're targeting a listing on the Cape Town Stock Exchange. GAIA has previously listed two funds, two companies specifically on the Cape Town Stock Exchange that are running at the moment and continuously raising capital. So this will be the third listing on the Cape Town Stock Exchange, which we're targeting to list in June, so in about a month and a half's time from now. And it's a company, an equity company, and we will be listing preference shares where our investors invest in. It's a real estate investment trust, which means that from a tax perspective, the returns are optimized. And we give our investors the benefits of maximizing the returns in the process.
As someone who's playing in a very exciting space, how do you see the future of investment in renewable and in energy in South Africa opening up not only to investors and companies and businesses, but also to ordinary South Africans who've got some money to put away and would like to see returns on exciting projects that are not quite as staid as some of the more risk-averse investment options out there?
Yeah, you're spot on. I mean, renewable energy is a space that's growing in the world. We're fortunate in South Africa to have this. It's the cheapest way of generating electricity as we speak. Far cheaper than and cleaner than fossil fuel, your diesel generators. And it's in such a way, as an investor, you can invest in a space that's exciting, it's growing. We see what's happening with electric vehicles overseas, and we're closely following behind. So as an investor, this is one area where you can invest. You can invest in a fund such as this, or in specific companies that target it, and get a piece of the upside that's coming. And in that process, you're doing something that's better than investing in fossil fuels, and that are the alternative. So it's an impactful fund. It ticks the sustainable development goals that have been set. We're aligned with that. It's ESG positive. So, from a governance perspective, given that it's a listed fund, I mean, we need to adhere to strict governance. And as a fund manager, you know, GAIA makes sure that that's in place. So yeah, it's an exciting space, and we're the most excited about making a change in the world for the better, Anlie.
Speaking to us this evening, that was Renier, MD of GAIA Fund Managers.